damn it, I'm disgusting. I look greased up. It's been a hot day. It's been a long day. Had a gig, 2 hours. It was a good gig. It was a jazz trio. Turned into a quartet because one of the local guitar virtuosos just happened to wing by, and my amp, or his amp, was already in my car, so we just pulled out and he played. And then him and I went to rehearsal. We had it in my bedroom. Sorry, my leg in the way. It was like 20 degrees hotter in the rest of the house by the time we got down all the amps and shit. So anyhow, I'm greased up. It's the end of the day. I want to talk about some timing. There's a clickbaity ass title on this video. I haven't decided what it is yet, but it's just to grab your attention. I just have opinions. I'm gonna say them, and please take it with a grain of salt. Don't believe everything you hear on the internet. This is what works for me. Might not work for you. You might do this and you might sound like shit. Find a better pathway, for yourself. But anyhow, drummers, masters of time, whatever. Everybody should be masters of time. Don't let me catch you fucking slacking. But we have to know time. You have to know time inside and out if you're really gonna play. And I think it goes beyond just holding pulse like a metronome. Some music demands that. Some music deserves that. A lot of it doesn't. A lot of it requires the humanity and the pulse of a person. The heartbeat. So they call music the heartbeat. Hearts don't perfectly beat tick 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 tick. But it goes beyond that too. Everybody's got humanness, but you can take it a step above if you learn how to control that humanness and how to control the time to use it to your will. I started long ago as I was a classical piano player for 10 years, I think, before I even picked up sticks. Not before I picked up sticks, before I picked up Drumset. And my teacher, who I'm not going to name drop because I ain't be like that, she was dope, Russian lady, which is great. That's some of the best like classical piano sound. Really like dark, illustrious. I don't know if illustrious is the right word. Anywho, she told me, she was like, this isn't exactly what she told me, but it's the gist of it. The sheet music is a platform for your personal expression. If you want to make this part of a song be louder, softer, do you want to accelerando, decrescendo, fucking retardando? You want to pull and push the time and the pulse and the dynamics of what's happening. You can do that. You have free will. The sheet isn't what's playing the music. You're what's playing the music. And just recently, I've been drumming for 9 years now. I've been playing drum set for 9 years now. And just recently have I started to think about how that could relate to the drum set. Because when a solo classical piano, I'm not bound by anybody else's time structure aside from my own. So I got to make whatever decisions. But if I'm playing, like In Walked Bud, for example, Thelonious Monk, for playing In Walked Bud, there's a pulse. The whole band has to hold a pulse. Ding, 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 ding. It's a terrible voiced walking bass. You get the gist of it. Most songs, the band is going to be holding a pulse. But it's not as constricting as that, at least I would believe. There's some other examples of people talking about this. I don't think, not to be rude, not necessarily in the best fashion. But I do enjoy I don't enjoy the whole video. There's a Drumeo video with the other Nate Smith, the 80/20 drummer, and he's talking about the parking space, widening your parking space, and each beat is like a singular parking space. It's not just single blips and perfectly placed in time. Beat 1 starts here and goes to here, and here is immediately where beat 2 starts. You know, you have a whole quantity of space in each quarter note to be in front of the beat, behind the beat. You can be on top of the beat. Different things, different limbs can be doing different stuff at the same time. It's just like it's like a piano. You have your right hand, you got your 5 fingers. Not all the notes when you play a chord have to land exactly together. And it's the same with the drum set, if you really think about it. Because we have, again, there's 4 limbs working together, working with each other to create a sound. You know, if you're playing just the classic boots and cats, just a regular ass beat, you can make that feel a million different ways with variations of tempo and dynamics and feel and timing. Even with that, you don't need ghost notes to make something feel different. You don't need to imply subdivisions to make something feel different. You don't even need to imply dynamics to make something feel different. If we're talking about just the time here, and if you think of a beat as an entire area of space, Steve Jordan said it. What is the true length of a quarter note? There's so much playroom in there. I like the New Orleans example. The great friend Brian Powers, who I'm going to name drop because people already know the motherfucker. Snowman from Minneapolis, sax player, producer, what have you. He's originally from New Orleans. And the last time him and I were talking about New Orleans drummers, he had mentioned, and this is something that I think I had been doing because I listen and I play a lot of that kind of music, but it was never something I thought about. And that's like, if you can understand it up here, you can take it beyond the level that you're at, you know what I mean? And he mentioned his liking for New Orleans drummers comes from the fact that they can push and pull the beat at the same time. And a lot of drummers, it's not just them, but they push and pull the beat at the same time. Certain things are driving, they're on the front side. Certain things are pulling, they're on the back side. Certain things are swimming around in the fucking, beat soup, right? And that's that tension, that rhythmic tension, such a small, minuscule level to the average listener, or like people who don't understand music or people who don't understand timing. It's something that you're going to be able to feel. You're never going to be able to explain. But people feel it regardless of what they know. So I think it's an important thing for drummers to work on. So if we stick with the New Orleans example, right? Usually, in my experience, having learned and played a lot of that music, not with anybody from there. So again, grain of salt. Take what I say with a grain of salt. But a common thing amongst New Orleans drummers, and I think this transferred to like funk and R&B drummers, it's been around a long time. A lot of people do this shit. I've specifically noticed it there. That bass drum riding up on the front of the beat, snare chilling on the back of the beat, and the internals, that's up to your liking. Usually, I think for the New Orleans sound, having your internals and your right hand, your hi-hat, ride cymbals, stuff like that, that's kind of, it's swimming in the soup. It's laying back a little bit as well. But that, that push and pull from the kick drum and the snare drum creates this wave. It's so danceable, You don't just want to nod your head like this. You know, you want to move your whole body. It's going to make you want to move in different ways. And that's the power behind the time, really. If you have specific music that you like to play, especially if it's something danceable, you know, and you're struggling to play it, dance to that music. See how that music wants to make you dance. And sit down at the drum set and try to transfer that out. That's something that you can do, even if you don't have a fuck's clue what I've been talking about for the last 10 minutes and 39 seconds. That's something that you can do. That's a jump start. But with the timing stuff, sit down with the metronome. And the clicks of the metronome, that is not the whole beat. Imagine that is like that's the center. That's dead center in beats 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you got all this playroom on either side to bend and stretch things to your will. I hear a lot of modern drummers, I should have mentioned this before. I live a lot, especially in my personal practices, in the realms of funk and R&B and blues and second line and whatnot. Anything that makes the ass shake. So, oh fuck, I forgot where I was going with this. God damn it. Okay, we got it. You sit down with your metronome. You got all this playroom. Modern drummers, especially modern funk drummers, I hear the kick and snare are dead on the money, and the internals and the right hand is what's creating that tension, that push and pull. I think it makes me think of Corey Fonville specifically. I hear him do that a lot, and it's interesting because you can approach that old schoolness, because not a lot of old school guys are really like metronome timing their kick and snare. That wasn't happening. So you have a lot of people laying that snare back. But that more modernistic approach of it takes a whole band too. I'll get to that in a second. But the kick and snare dead on the money, and the internals laid back. You can still get close to that old schoolness, especially if you're with the right players, with people who understand pocket. But I notice, I think that, I don't know, it's just a thought, it's compensation for like guitarists and bass players laying back on the beat. You know, Prince, D'Angelo being somewhat responsible for that. Same with actually the Stax rhythm section. Steve Cropper and Duck Dunn. They were doing that way back in the day. A lot of people were. It's just more subtly than today, I suppose. But yeah, you sit down with your metronome, all that playroom, like I've said 6 times already, and just try to experiment with what you can move where, you know. Again, that click is the center of your beat. And so maybe you do want to do the New Orleans thing. You want the kick up front and the snare on the back end. Spread those motherfuckers out and see if you can keep your hi-hats in the center. You know, not everything has to land perfectly together. It's going to sound like it's together because you're only moving stuff by, you know, if I were to quantify it amounts of a millisecond, I'm not really thinking about quantifying it because you can't. It's feel, you know. But this, at least for me, was a step closer in learning how to control my feel with other musicians. And that's I think the most important thing as a drummer, especially if you want to go work as like a session player or something. You know, you set the time. But if it's not your music, if you're subbing in, if you're in a session for an artist, or you know you're learning like a set for, I just did this recently. I learned a set for somebody's album release. The drummer on the record is from Texas. Album release is in Minnesota, so they had to get somebody else to do it, and that was me. When you're learning stuff for that, the band, if they're a good band, they listen to you for the time. But if it's not your music, it's not your band, not your say. You listen to them for the feel. And if you don't have control over your timing to be able to shift things to places, because man, a lot of other people aren't going to do that for you. You know, I'm lucky. I have a lot of good people here at home who understand this shit enough to be able to wiggle their pocket. But a lot of times people aren't going to be able to do that for you. So it's part of a drummer's responsibility. A big reason a band is going to either sound good or bad, or mediocre, or anywhere in between. So if you know how to do that, if you have control over your timing, not in the sense of holding perfect time, but in the sense of feel, and in the sense of like using the space of the beat to your advantage, it's going to make it a lot easier for you. And a lot of other people are going to say that it's easy to play with you. Y'all got it. Go practice. Hit that click.